This is not financial advice. The Bitcoin Source is an educational platform, not linked to any financial institution. The content of our podcast is solely for information and should not be seen as an offer to buy, sell, or hold Bitcoin or other financial assets. Consult a financial expert before investing. While our guests share their personal views, these may not always align with those of the Bitcoin Source. Opinions expressed in the Bitcoin Source, a Bitcoin conversation, are the speaker's own and may differ from the Bitcoin Source's views. Investing always carries risks. Please conduct your own research.
Welcome to the Bitcoin Source, your essential podcast for all things Bitcoin. I'm Daru, your host for today's thought-provoking session. We're thrilled to have with us Jesse Shrader, co-founder and CEO of AmBoss. Jesse believes Lightning is a natural upgrade for any mining pool since it increases operational efficiency and lowers the payout threshold for individual miners. We plan on having a vast discussion on Bitcoin and its best layer 2 solution, the Lightning Network. So without further ado, let's welcome Jesse to the Bitcoin Source.
Thanks so much, Dadu.
So Jesse, this is your first time here, so let's start from some of the beginning parts of your story. So to begin with, how did you get into Bitcoin and how did you go about being orange-pilled into this vast, incredible digital asset that we are talking about today?
Yeah, my entry into Bitcoin was largely motivated by price movements. That's what really caught my attention, but I had already been primed to look for something that was an alternative to traditional banking, because I had worked in a call center that handled class action lawsuits, and most of those were against banks, especially where banks would reorganize debit card transactions to maximize overdraft fees. So I was definitely on the lookout for a currency where the people controlled it and they weren't being subjected to adversarial banking policies and have a bit more control over their financial future. And to me, that's what Bitcoin represents, in not just an investment, but a truly world-changing technology that provides more freedom, more privacy, and more sovereignty for people.
Yes, I would have to agree with that 100%, Jesse. And Bitcoin is a unique protocol because you've been in the space for a while, so you would understand this, but there's just so many different things out there. There's so many new inventions, new protocols, new solutions. And when you really get into the weeds of Bitcoin, and in particular the Lightning Network, I've been in Bitcoin since 2017, so I have a little bit of skin in the game. But at the same time, I remember when Lightning was in its early versions and people were still skeptical about it. And there was all this FUD across the ecosystem about Bitcoin not being able to scale. And then Lightning comes out and it kind of shuts down that narrative. But then now we have these issues with high fees and UTXO management. So there's what I like about Bitcoin is that there's always more problems that we have to provide solutions to. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you and dive into more of the Lightning protocol, because I think my audience would really find value in that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes. So Jesse, let's get into some Lightning questions. So the Lightning Network integration seems to be a game changer for mining pools. Could you elaborate on how it enhances the operational efficiency, particularly for small scale miners?
Yeah. So when you are a miner, you generally participate in a mining pool. And so that increases the odds that an individual miner could actually get the reward from mining a block in the blockchain. And with transaction fees rising and all of these competitive uses of the Bitcoin blockchain, so for example, ordinals inscriptions, BRC20s, and now most recently runes, there's all of these different desires to actually use the blockchain. Now, a mining pool is actually kind of aggregating all of the work that is being done by individual miners in order to increase the odds that it will win a block.
What is this archaic system?
Mother's maiden name? Ebowitz?
You're telling me this guy is how things get verified.
That's my job.
I'm just saying, you shouldn't have to buy $10 worth of gum if you just want 79 cents worth of gum. Why do you get charged your money to take your money from your account? And if you're out of money, they charge you for being out of money?
What?
An overseas transfer takes 5 days?
Business days.
Why?
What are they using? A Zeppelin?
I deposited the check Monday.
But Monday was a bank holiday.
Why is this the way it is?
A bank holiday?
This system
What's a bank holiday?
makes no sense.
This makes no sense.
Who designed this system?
Payout?
Is this really the best we can do?
Hello?
Don't we deserve better?
And for the individual miners, they each have a payout threshold, at which point that it actually makes sense for the mining pool to process a transaction that goes to that individual miner. So that payout threshold is generally pretty high, especially from hobbyist miners that may have maybe like one ASIC or maybe like a BitAxe or something, one of these smaller devices. And so they'll be mining for potentially up to like a year or 2 years before they actually reach the threshold necessary to actually do a payout. So that means that individual miners or small hobbyist miners may have cash flow issues because they have to pay for a power bill before they actually get any of the rewards from mining. So by increasing the efficiency of the transaction, you can actually lower that payout threshold pretty substantially. So that means that an individual miner may be able to get daily payouts from contributing to the work of finding the next block.
Yeah, for the audience, that might be, if you're a newbie, that might be like super convoluted and confusing, right? I implore people to definitely check out more of Jesse's work and also just dig into the Lightning Network, dig into the mining pool protocol, so you can just have a better understanding of this conversation on a high level. But to, respond to your answer, Jesse, I completely understand, and I find that is super fascinating. And as we look at, like, for example, a lot of the mining companies, Riot, Marathon, they're running into, and of course they're large scale mining operations. They're not small scale, but I think that this relates to the conversation where there's so many different processes to the mining industry with Bitcoin, and there's also a lot of FUD on the flip side with climate change and all these other different things. But I think that having the conversation about how Lightning is going to impact the mining pool, the hash rate process, I think that is just something that is super fascinating. So I'm looking forward to kind of digging more into this conversation, because this is something that I feel a lot of people in the ecosystem are not talking about. And, everything is the ETF narrative right now, but I love to get back to the meat and bones of what this is about, which is that layer 2 solution, the Lightning Network.
That's a great point. And let me give you the key takeaway. Integrating Lightning Network into a mining pool means individual miners don't get paid once every 2 years, they get paid every day. So do you want to get paid once in a while, every couple of years, or do you want to get paid more often? And the Lightning Network enables such an efficiency upgrade that becomes possible. And we're seeing success from integrations like NiceHash, who have already had a Lightning payout system integrated into their mining pool.
Nice. So I want to peel back the layers and talk a little bit about AmBoss, which is, the company that you co-founded, and I'm excited to have this conversation about it. So AmBoss is pioneering the Lightning Network adoption in mining pools. What inspired your team to take this innovative approach, and what challenges did you encounter along the way?
So at AmBoss, we're at the forefront of making Lightning and Bitcoin an actual transaction medium. So we're making it a medium of exchange. So this is a difficult problem, and taking this phenomenal asset as a store of value, and using the advantages of it being a internet native currency means that we can do a whole lot more as actually moving money without introducing debt and all these credit systems and credit scores and all of this stuff that has been kind of holding us back. And what we have with the Lightning Network is you have final settlement. So I can send a payment, it's received immediately, and there's no like back end processing that's happening. Now, the Lightning Network is a decentralized payment system. And so that means there's not a central coordinator like Visa or MasterCard that knows all of your transaction information in order to route payments. Instead, it's decentralized. And when you make something decentralized, the first thing that you'll struggle with is discoverability. So who do I connect to? And who do I want connected to me? So those are the main things. So first we started a Lightning Network Explorer. So that helps identify who are the nodes on the network and how do I connect to them. Also, how do I get into contact with them? If anything goes wrong or anything goes right, basically connects with them like you would on LinkedIn or Facebook. But we're actually using Bitcoin connections. So now I'm introducing money into this kind of social and financial network that's happening at the same time. The next problem is, it's actually going to cost me a Bitcoin transaction, and I'll have to pay a fee to create a new connection. So imagine on LinkedIn, now a connection costs you $10. So who is strategic to connect to? And so that's a big question that is really answered with data analytics. And so that's really where AmBoss comes in to help organize the data and help you think right about how to make these connections, how to think strategically. So this is the next piece that we did was introduce market forces. So to say, I want someone to open a channel to me, and I'll pay them. I'll pay the fee to create that connection because it will make the payment system more efficient. And that was really interesting. We launched a marketplace called Magma and allows people to simply buy a Lightning channel to them. And that enables them to receive payments. So I want to receive payments, so I'll pay other people to make connections to me. So that's basically how it operates. And it also means that for people that are already set up on the Lightning Network, they can use their Bitcoin now to start earning revenue from selling new connections. So I'm already well connected. So you can buy a Lightning channel from me, and we can use Magma as the marketplace so that you can get the best price.
Yeah, and my non-Bitcoin brain goes off for my audience, and I remember you mentioning something about data and having this kind of connective tissue within the network of finding the most valuable person to connect with, to use their channel, etc. But could you kind of elaborate on the core principles of Bitcoin as far as decentralization and security when it comes to having this data and this peer-to-peer of information? Are you concerned that people might think that AmBoss could get in a situation where that information is leaked, public addresses are leaked or anything like that? Like, could you kind of clarify that, Jesse?
Sure. So how Lightning operates is really, it's using the security of Bitcoin. So these individual transactions that happen on Bitcoin, for Lightning, there's just a smart contract that's introduced on top of that transaction. And so that means that we can essentially create a joint account between two individuals, the classic Alice and Bob. And so, they'll put Bitcoin into this joint account, and one person will own all of it. And then the individual transaction doesn't need to go to the blockchain anymore. And so it doesn't need to be publicly visible. Now it can be a private transaction between two individuals. and no one needs to know about those individual transactions. So back in my days of working in a call center, part of that, one of the cases was Target had a data breach. And so individual debit card transactions from 2 years of customers, all of that information was breached. So that included all the names, addresses, payment card information. And there's risk within traditional payments that your data is at risk, and it also includes personally identifiable information. Now, when it comes to the Lightning Network, it does not matter like who you are or whether or not you're a robot. You're simply a public and private key pair. So you don't need to introduce a whole bunch of personally identifiable information into the payment system, and that makes it much stronger. Additionally, transactions on the Lightning Network are not public. Simply the infrastructure of the payment system is public. And that's what you see on the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's what AmBoss helps you understand, to see individual connections between nodes, between individuals or robots, what have you. But I don't need to know about their individual payments.
100%. And Jesse, you're like a guru with Lightning. I'm so glad that you clarified that for my audience, because a lot of people might not just understand the ins and outs of how that works. So I want to talk about, how do you foresee Lightning, AmBoss impacting the broader Bitcoin ecosystem, especially in terms of encouraging more participation from smaller miners?
Yeah. So we're at an interesting point right now for Lightning and for Bitcoin. We just saw some first enforcement actions happen around unlicensed money transmission. And I think that has really sent some shockwaves around the community.
In a major development in the cryptocurrency world, federal prosecutors have charged the founders of Samurai Wallet, Kian Rodriguez and William Lonergan Hill, with conspiracy to commit money laundering. This news comes as the U.S. government intensifies its scrutiny of crypto mixing tools. Rodriguez and Hill are accused of developing, marketing, and operating a mixer through their wallet service, which allegedly facilitated over $100 million in money laundering transactions connected to illegal dark web markets. The charges underscore the ongoing debate around the use of cryptocurrency technologies for privacy versus the potential for misuse. Samurai Wallet has been known for its features that promote anonymity, raising concerns about its possible exploitation for illicit activities. These charges are quite serious. If convicted, the founders could face significant prison time. Moreover, this case could set a legal precedent impacting how privacy-focused crypto tools are regulated in the United States, potentially affecting not just Samurai Wallet but other services in the crypto ecosystem. As this case unfolds, it will likely spark further discussions on the balance between innovation in the crypto space and the need for regulatory oversight to prevent criminal misuse.
Especially the builders. So certain wallets have actually withdrawn from the US, and we're continuing to watch kind of ripple effects of the fear of an enforcement action from the US. Now, the accusations were pretty intense and may be overblown. I'll be excited to watch kind of the battle to say, no, like if you have a wallet that offers self-custody, like the wallet providers are not money transmitters. So I would really love to see clarity around that respect. And this impacts individual miners because that basically the effects of this enforcement action means that miners have fewer options to receive Lightning payments because of the response from that enforcement action. And that may mean that the US is going to lose out on some of these pieces because wallet providers are pulling out of the US. Now, for individual miners, if they don't have a very easy wallet to use, that's an issue. But there's still options available so that they could run their own node. And there's a couple of options available for people that really like the hardware stuff. There's Start 9, there's Raspy Blitz, there's Umbrel, and for the people that don't want to manage hardware, there's things like Voltage Cloud, which would enable someone to run a node and then make the connections to other apps really easy. So basically, the best setup that I like, run your own node, use Voltage, and then you can connect a really nice wallet like Zeus to it, so you could have that full mobile experience while having robust cloud infrastructure for your node. So you can receive payments, you can send them, and you can enjoy the benefits of the Lightning Network.
100%. And speaking of Zeus, shout out to Evan, the founder of Zeus. And, I know him quite well. And, we've had conversations about where we think this is going as far as the hostile environment with the institutions kind of cracking down on Bitcoin companies, CEOs that are, using Bitcoin to transact peer to peer. And I really commend people like Zeus. I commend people like AmBoss, such as yourself, Jesse, where, beyond the mining pool, do you believe that the Lightning Network will have broader applications within the Bitcoin ecosystem? And what I mean by that is we're seeing a lot of layer 3 solutions, Web3 stuff, but I still think that there's a lot of untapped potential with the Lightning Network. So could you kind of elaborate on how might the scalability and speed benefit other sectors or other use cases?
Yeah. What Lightning offers is fast, cheap payments globally. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. And even Unchained shared that you could be off-world and still receive a Lightning payment. So it works when we go interplanetary. But that's for the future. But we're talking about now. So when you send a payment, generally, you're going to swipe your debit card. You're going to pay 3%, and you're going to celebrate the fact you're going to get 1% cash back. Now, who's paying for that cash back? It's you, the consumer. Now, you pay for a higher price than you should because of the inefficiency of the payment system. Now, what we see on the Lightning Network is that the transactions happen generally around 1 second or even less. And the median fee across the network is 0.005%. So that's not, and it's not sending your data someplace else for someone else to advertise and for them to sell you ads. Instead, it settles almost instantly. It's cheaper and it's more private. So that has incredible effects for payments today, where we've just become accustomed to always paying 3% for each individual transaction, and that time is now ended. We don't need to be subject to that. We can adopt a better money, which is Bitcoin, a neutral money for the world, and use the Lightning Network to accelerate it.
Yes, and there's so many different companies popping up now with this same kind of mentality in front. I know that for Q2, Block just recently mentioned that they are creating their own ASIC mining chip. And I wanted to ask you, Jesse, as Bitcoin continues to evolve, what do you envision as the next frontier for innovation in the mining sector or for mining technology?
I think I know there's been lots of excitement around Stratum V2, and I'm similarly excited about it, simply to kind of decentralize the creation of block templates. Now, beyond that, once you have your own block templates, it's really about kind of decentralizing or making it so that individual miners can get paid and have full participation. Now, in the space of regulatory crackdowns, where different regulatory bodies may want you to enforce certain rules, actually having a decentralized mining base to keep Bitcoin neutral is going to be really important on kind of the pushback, because the money always needs to work. Now, Bitcoin doesn't care, whether you're doing a good thing or a bad thing. It's simply neutral. Did you pay the fee? Is it valid? And that allows us to have a purely mathematical, neutral currency that isn't so subjective to political goals. We simply want neutrality.
In your opinion, what are the main barriers preventing wider adoption of the Lightning Network in the mining industry, and what steps can be taken to overcome them?
Yeah. The Lightning Network has a lot of work to do on user experience. There's also challenges on the accounting front. So basically, you're wanting to run a business, but you don't want to be a Lightning Network expert also. And like, it would be silly to assume that every business is going to have a Lightning wizard there in-house. And so a lot of our work is actually improving the user experience, using machine learning to actually make it very simple for this payment system just to work, and generating the software to really support business operations. So that's been a push recently for our most recent product, which is Reflex, and it does payment operations. It also has a rules engine inside, which helps with compliance reporting, the types of things that businesses are concerned with. Also, primarily exchanges. They have a real problem on their hands because Bitcoin transaction fees are going up. And the best way to reduce those fees that they would pay and improve the user experience for their customers is to use Lightning and to avoid having to make an on-chain transaction every time you want to speculate on the latest token. So it's critically important that businesses today have a Lightning strategy of when they will be implementing that, and then asking the right questions of, do I want to build this in-house, or do I want to use an off-the-shelf solution, or do I want to piece out, okay, what do I want to do in-house versus what can I outsource?
Awesome. Thank you for that answer, Jesse. And Jesse, I've had conversations with hundreds of people, and most times I really love to pinpoint this question to founders and CEOs, which is, what is your Bitcoin philosophy? Like, a lot of founders and CEOs have this mission in their mind of how they're going to kind of create a solution in the ecosystem. And I'm always curious to hear the way that founders and CEOs think about the philosophy behind Bitcoin. Of course, when you start in the space, you have like a perception about Bitcoin, you continue to learn and grow about it. And then an aha moment hits where this philosophy comes into your mind to say, okay, I understand Bitcoin. I've used it peer to peer. I run my own node. But now I actually want to create a company. I actually want to hire people and create a solution within the ecosystem. That philosophy is what I'm looking for as far as like the CEO founder mind of Bitcoin versus just being the individual hodler or investor.
There is so much depth to the rabbit hole. When you first start, it's easy to dismiss Bitcoin as being nerd money. But then you dive a bit deeper and you realize, okay, these are very beautiful technologies that have all been combined. So, I mean, my journey, from the engineering side was learning about like, what is a cryptographic hash? What is a blockchain? Like, what are these hashes in blocks that are everywhere? We use it at different points, but it's like a really nice mathematical concept. Now, as I got further into it, I was just looking for different applications of this tech. So there's the classic situation of when you're holding a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. So you want to apply it to everything. So I think I went through a phase of wanting to put medical records on the blockchain. And now I realize that is idiotic. Do not do that. Don't put personal information on the blockchain. And that stuff doesn't really belong there. So there's also, but like kind of, you get a bit more focused. So you read a bit more, and then you encounter things like Parker Lewis's Gradually Then Suddenly series. And then you realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't be focused on all of the potential monies out there, all the crypto tokens, and really remember that like the chosen money pretty much consolidates to one. Like, this is the common language of value. And so that really solidified my focus on Bitcoin itself. But then as I became a founder and working on payments, Bitcoin has to work not only as a money and as a store of value, but it also has to be useful for all of the uses of money. And that includes all of the speculation. So when we see financial flows, the speculation, the markets is really where we see tremendous financial flows. And so focusing in on that and not being the full maximalist that I want to be, that I am internally, I've chosen one money to be my store of value, but I also have to account for the different needs of the broader market outside of people that think like me, that Bitcoin is the apex predator of money. It needs to be useful for all of the uses. And that includes all of the speculation, the gambling, what have you. The money needs to work.
Yes, the common language of value. I took that sentence from that conversation just now, and I just really took that into account, where that makes 100% sense, where Bitcoin is this language of mathematical digital sovereign value that so many people are still trying to learn how to dictate and orate that language, right? In their minds, in their fiat minds. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Jesse. But one last question. Finally, looking ahead, do you predict there will be a long-term implication of the Lightning Network integration for both miners and the broader Bitcoin community? Or do you think that as time goes on, more innovation is to come about? Will it be actually easier for people to integrate Lightning versus having a harder time with it?
Oh, the barriers to entry are dropping. So the user experience is improving, and that will continue to be the case. The improvements will be even more magnified as more people try to use the Bitcoin blockchain for other things. We recently saw Michael Saylor use it for like email verifications and having certificates. Now that's yet another use case of the Bitcoin blockchain, which means that the transaction fees will go up accordingly. And there will be people that will be very upset about it. How dare you use my precious blockchain for this use case? However, you're operating in a market, and the best way is to improve the efficiency of your operations. And the way to do that is with Lightning, because not every single transaction needs to be broadcast to the world. You can have individual transactions in payment rails that's private between two parties, and that doesn't need to be shared with everyone. And you can improve your efficiency by using a payment channel infrastructure.
Agreed. I love it. So thank you, Jesse, for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us today. To our audience, if you found this conversation as fascinating as we did, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hitting the notification bell ensures that you won't miss out on any future talks with leading minds in the Bitcoin space, such as Jesse Shrader. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you on our next conversation, Jesse. If you want to plug AmBoss, if you want to plug any of your social media handles, please feel free to do so now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. So you can follow AmBoss at AmBoss Tech on X. You can also visit our site, amboss.space. If you are interested in Reflex as a business customer to enhance your payment operations, you can go to rpo.dev for Reflex payment operations.
Yes. Jesse Shrader, thank you. And to my audience, until then, keep exploring the vast potential of Bitcoin and stay informed with the Bitcoin source. Thank you.